Hello, families. I'm back. This is Kimberly Purpoz, and welcome to my channel. Today I am doing another interesting video. I came across this article on Indian Country today, and I wanted to share it with you guys because I thought it was quite interesting. But before we start, I want to share with y'all the necklace that I have. This is the feather necklace that I'm going to have available in my store called the Purpose Healing Art Store. It's coming soon. I'm still working on it, and it should be available soon to you guys. And I keep you guys posted on my progress. But anyway, this particular article was published. Let's see here. I believe it was published. It was published on March the 8th, 2017. And it doesn't, I don't think it has an article. It just has by Indian Country Today. But it says here, 1782, the village of Moravian, Delaware Indian massacred. Moravian, I believe, I was watching another video on YouTube, a documentary, and I did a little research about the Moravians. These were like missionaries, Christian missionaries who was trying to get the Indians to change their religion to Christianity and trying to change their faith into the Christian religion in order to take over and take over the land and everything from the Indians. This was the beginning part of trying to indoctrinate the Indians and assimilate them into their society. But as you can see in this picture here, once they did that, it created a negative effect on the Indians, and a lot of them got killed during this particular process. But anyway, it says 1782 village of Moravian, Delaware Indians massacred. And then up here it has a picture here. It says massacre of the Christian Indians. And it says here this in 1855 lithograph shows the Nadaden Hutton massacre of the Moravian Delaware Indians. It was from the 1855 volume historical collection of the Great Rest. And I want to show, I like this picture. Well, I don't like it. It shows the terror that the Indians, the American Aborigines have gone through, along with the Native Indians, the killing the Indians and trying to take and steal their land and steal from them. And I was just noticing, if you look at this picture closely, you can see the Indians have Negroid features, they have dark skin, a dark complexion, and Negro features. I'm pretty sure that this is an American Aborigine, and you can see the Indians right here. But it pretty much shows the depiction of what took place. And I have some theories on this as well. How Christianity was used as a tool to, make people who are indigenous here in the Americas to lose focus as to who they are and how they lost their identity. And this is an example of how we lost our identity once we accepted Christianity. And it shows also how the indoctrination process of using the Christian faith was used to make the Indians more docile and obedient. And I think it's still using the same strategy and technique is used today among the African Americans, the AKA American Aborigines, a tactic used to make the indigenous people forget who they are and lose their true culture, heritage, and spirituality, it was the stepping stone or stepping tool that was used. And I think that's how um, this is pretty much exactly how it's still from. And I think this is why also a lot of our um, men, African American men, are gone down. It's because the gray, the African American man, aka American Aborigine, men are being gunned down today. It's not just men; it's men, women, and children. This. If you see this picture and how these people were slaughtered, and you see how the police, the Great Caucasoid police, and it's like still from they would call the slave patrol, but they also these missionaries that's going around killing and policing and trying to kill the indigenous people. It's pretty much the same thing that's going on today. And then with the genocide, with the poisonings of water, like in Flint, Michigan, you know, they do it. It's a different method and it's a different strategy on how it's done. But this is what it stems from. But let's read this article. It says here, 235 years ago today, 96 Moravian Delaware Indians massacred. Today marked the 235th anniversary of the Nadine Hutton massacre of the Moravian Delaware Indians. It was on this day, 235 years ago, that 96 Christian Indians were massacred in the small Moravian Delaware Indian village of Nadine Hutton, Ohio. The remains of these 96 Christian Indians lay exposed to the forest animals and the weather for over 15 years before being piled in a mass grave called the burial mound of the Christian Indian martyrs. There we go. Okay. But anyway, so like I said, this first paragraph is pretty much explaining how the tactic of using Christianity made the person more passive and how they use it to kill these people. And then I think it's very disgusting how they let them lay and be exposed to the forest animal. That is really deplorable. It reminds me of some of the things that were done to the slaves. That's why I say I believe the American Aborigines and aka African Americans are one and the same. They try to change our labels and everything to make it seem like we're not the same people, but these are our people, these are us. And you can see in this picture, these are American Aborigines with the dark skin. It's quite evident. And it says here, the year that was in 1782, on this bitter cold day in March, a group of nearby 100 Moravian Delaware Indians were working in the fields, gathering the corn that they were forced to abandon during the previous year's harvest. Out in the woods, through the snow, there was a large group of colonial militiamen on horses. As the startled Indians watched them approach, the leader of the battalion gave a friendly halting gesture. After exchanging peaceful greetings, the battalion told the Moravian Delaware Indians that they were sent to rescue them from the approaching British troop and would be escorting them to nearby Fort Pitt. Convinced that their intentions were honorable, the Indians complied with the request to surrender their weapons, which was a big mistake. And see, the story, we need to learn from past mistakes of our ancestors. They surrendered and everything. They accepted the religion. They accepted assimilating and accepting European standards of living. And taking away the weapons was a big mistake, which was the root of their demise. And it says here, as soon as the weapons were gathered, the treachery was revealed. See, this is what they do. And the great Caucasians. And it says here, it was no surprise. It was a surprise move that the military men turned their weapons on the Moravian Delaware converts and informed them that they were to be killed. And see, these are the people that tried to assimilate and accept the Christian faith. And this is what Christianity is pretty much doing to our people to this very day. You know, it pulls us from our indigenous roots and heritage and makes us be more, and what they want is for you to be more passive and more docile. You know, forgiving all the time. That God, you know, Jesus is the Messiah, and is the Messiah, and you know, all this religion is fake. All this was created by them. You know, our ancestors were fierce warriors, and they did not, you know, they were successful at the beginning of the war for 250 years. They fought them off. And so for them to be able to fight them off for that length of time and still believe in their own spirituality with nature, and having an identity and knowing who they are, gave them strength and have a power and a belief in themselves. And that's why they're able to fight them off. And once they accepted them, that's what we can do. And I think that's what weakens us, because we don't have an identity. We lost track of who we are. And I believe not understanding who we are and going back to our heritage and learning what happened to our people will make a big difference. But since their request was denied, when the Indians saw that there was no hope for mercy, they asked for time to pray and prepare for death. See, they tricked back them. They granted to stay of execution to last during overnight, hours only and no more. That is ridiculous. This is terrible. See, this is what they did. And this is something that should be in history books. You don't never see these in history books. And it's deplorable, it's disgusting. Great Caucasoids should be ashamed of themselves. And like I said, they're still doing it to this very day. But they may not be blatantly gunning people down on the street. You know what? They still are, I had to say, because the cops are still going around killing folks. You know, the indigenous people here, the American Aborigines, because these are our people. These are still our people. The slavery went through the prison system, and now with Great Caucasoids going around killing our men, not just our men, the women and the children as well, at any chance they get. And then they're using modern day weaponry through all sorts of means, through the poisoning of our waters, through the air, putting poisons in the air, through the vaccinations, exposing our kids to autism and making sure they have autism, to also, you know, the experiments that were done in the past, such as the Tuskegee experiment. See, I hope you all can see the pattern and see what I'm talking about. But let's continue. It said to condemn Moravians, Delaware Indians spent the night praying and singing hymns, asking God for forgiveness for their sins, own sins and the sins of men, and would soon take their lives. They consoled the others and another and prayed for strength to accept their fate with courage, with the knowledge that they will soon be with Jesus in heaven. See? That's how they trip bag us. And we still do that to this very day. You know, Christianity is a way of making you more docile and trying to accept you. It's not really a good religion. It's not based on the indigenous people way of looking at the world and the universe. It's based on what Great Caucasoids have created and used as a way to use as a weapon against us. And it's something that, you know, we should look past. That's why I say it's good to, you know, we should be questioning these things. You know, a lot of these things have been retouched and tampered with through great Caucasians, through the Caucasians, the pale faces. Some people call him the devil. So why would you accept what these people who have turned against us? We shouldn't be accepting. We should open our eyes and wake up and see what is actually taking place. And see, and this is how they did it. And if you look at the news, and anytime a person of an American Aborigine get gunned down and killed, you always see family members saying, "Oh God, Jesus, please forgive us," and using Christianity and forgiveness and accepting their fate and all that, and forgiving the killer of their loved one and accepting what took place. See, the indigenous people, our people were bush warriors. They didn't tolerate this foolishness. And it wouldn't have been accepted. We had our own government. Now the indigenous people have their own government, their own decision makers. This would not have been tolerated. But yet, once we accepted and assimilated their religion, this is when everything changed. The script has flipped. But it says here, now wanting to waste valuable ammunition, the Moravian and Delaware Indians were mercilessly clubbed to death by the same people who before this day were their allies. See, this is how they turned on you. This is how they turned on us. This is how they did it. And it says here, the Christian Indians did not resist. They did not struggle. They prayed. And this is exactly what we do today. I saw a YouTube video about a family that got pulled over by police. Police drew a gun. And they're just saying, please, Jesus, help us. And Jesus, they still got assaulted by the police. I'm not sure that couple died. No, I don't believe they died, but I believe they got assaulted and was still thrown in prison. Or went to jail, got arrested. I'm not sure they served any time, but this is passivity. Sometimes I think it's some sort of ritual. Everything I notice I've been reading up is like a ritual. The holidays and all the symbolism and everything. It's like a chronic ritual that they want, the flag and the ritual, even though it has a negative connotation to what, when it comes to us, everything that has been a root of our demise, they want us to glorify because it's something that they benefit from. And it's like a ritual that sort of empowers them in some kind of way or some form of fashion. And that's why they want us to always accept these ritualistic, ceremonies of national holidays that glorify the demise of our people. And it says, I am compelled to speak to this matter as my great-great-grandfather Christian Moses Stonefish dedicates to the obelisk that stands in the good Natahutans historical park. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Historical park, erected as a memorial in 1872. It is my family entered in the burial mounds, and there's the picture of it, of the monument. And this is terrible. This is a 35 monument of the Natahutans massacre site. Was erected by the honor of 96 slain Moravian Delaware Indians. And see, and that's the end of this article. And so, and pretty much a lot of the stuff that did in the past, they're still doing it today. And it's time that we wake up and put a stop to it because, this heavy indoctrination is definitely what this all stems from. It's a way of brainwashing you. It's a way of keeping you brainwashed and accepting their way of thinking, making you more docile and passive on things that should not be passed about. You know, you lose a loved one, you should not be forgiving or just accepting the fact that a great conqueror killed your family. You know, they don't go to prison, there's no punishment, and the cycle continues, the chronic cycle continues. But I also have another theory too. I believe that originally they started massacring the people, and I did some research too. You see how dark these people are. You know, these people were also the same color, copper color, dark complexion, American Aborigines on the East Coast, as well on the West Coast. We were here. Research has already shown that we were already over here, and that is oftentimes missed in history book. All they did was reclassify the Indians as being black and threw some of them in slavery. Yes, I agree that they massacred a lot of the Indians. I believe they massacred a lot of the American Aborigines, as well as the Native American Indians as well. But I also believe that not all the Indians died, like they claim. All they did was reclassify the Indians. Because if you go here, take you all along with me. If you look on the online etymology dictionary, it tells you here what kidnap means and where it stems from. It says 1680s, these, can't, a compound of kid, child, and nap, which is a verb, snatched away, which probably is a variant of nap, perhaps a back formation from kidnapper, which is recorded earlier, originally to steal children to provide servants and laborers in the American colonies, which is pretty much perpetual servitude. Because if you look at Christopher Columbus, and the original intent of the Europeans was to keep the indigenous people in perpetual servitude. And pretty much the 13 colonies, their whole concept and idea was perpetual servitude. So what they did was just kidnap all the indigenous children, women and children, perhaps, not perhaps, and this is exactly what took place, and threw them into slavery. Yes, they weakened the tribes by killing them through massacres. And the ones that survived, they took them and threw them into slavery, and they tried to keep it delicate and use words to switch up what it is, servants and laborers. You're right. It might have started off like that, but eventually they turned it to perpetual servitude, and that's how slavery began, with the kidnapping of the indigenous people and throwing them into slavery. That's all they did. Too lazy to do otherwise. They didn't pick their own cotton, their own crops. And so they too lazy to do that. The great caucasoids, the pale faces. Then what makes you think they went all the way out to Africa? They didn't. Slaved out, .org, slave. I think it's slavewards.org. Pretty much shows you they didn't bring hardly anyone over here into the United States in particular. So that's all they did was kidnap the indigenous people. Very few Africans came. But I want to bring you over here with the census. See, I wanted to let you know the original census didn't come out until 1780s. And the 1780s in the early beginning 1700s, late 1700s, excuse me for that. There were very few, they never did include the Indians nor the slaves. The Indians are the slaves. We're going to change that narrative. The Indians are the slaves because that's all they did. They were prisoners of war, and they put them into slavery for perpetual servitude. And that's exactly what took place. And if you go back to I showed you what the word kidnap was. Kidnap were the kidnapping of the indigenous people, and putting them into as laborers and servants, which is pretty much the same as slavery. eventually turned into slavery. That is all they did. That's all they did. And these populations they include in the 1780s, I was reading this article here, pretty much tells you, shows you right here, the populations they include in that first census is right here, these 13 colonies right here, which were American Aborigines. These were people of colors. Their first contact were the American Aborigines. The paintings and the artworks for Arnaldus Montanus shows you, that's primary evidence that shows you what took place at these Indians were American Aborigines. They had afros. They had dark skin. They were not these pale faces that they put in these books, the $5 Indians that they like to put in, and also the Mongoloids. Because the Mongoloid Indians weren't even over here. They were in the Midwest, I believe. And they were mainly north in Canada, because they came from Siberia. And I might come back and go over this. I'm going to put a link to this. I'm not going to really go into this. I just wanted to show you how they counted the people in the census and everything during the 1700s, and that they were mainly, this article pretty much mainly explains to you that the original people in the census in the 13 colonies were Great Caucasians. They were the pale faces, and that people of color were not included. And they did not include them, I believe, until much later. And by that time, they have already reclassified the indigenous peoples as being black, and maybe a handful that was mixed with Europeans were considered to be white. They were mostly, pale looking, lighter complexion. But please like this video, you guys, and thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. And I would love to hear your comments. I also have a channel on Black Junction TV, and I'll also have another, I'm going to put a link to another channel I have. I'm going to have a backup channel as well. And I'm going to probably do another video on some more Indian tribes, and also our trip to the archives. And I'll probably bring the special guest Omar back again as well. But till next time, peace, family, and be blessed. Bye-bye.
I do better.